Yeah, she has a little box that she goes in. There
Oh
she is.
my gosh, she's so cute. I can't deal. Oh no. Oh, she kissed. The kisses. Hey everyone, I am here with Veg Sets and we're going to have a little chat together. So feel free to join in and have a listen. Leave comments down below. Let us know what you're thinking along the way. Veg Sets, thank you so much for coming on my channel. How are you?
I'm good. I'm pretty honored to be on here. Thanks for having me.
I am honored to have you. Thank you for coming. So the other day you were asking, how long had I been vegan? And I thought, hey, let's make a video. Let's have a little chat about it and talk about our journey. So you've been vegan for, is it 4 years? Is that right?
Almost 5 years. It probably is 5 years.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have been vegan since the 1st of January 2020. So over a year now. Oh, I wish I had done it sooner. I mean, that's my biggest regret is I hadn't done this years and years ago when I first found out, because I watched Cowspiracy back in 2015 and it definitely got me thinking and questioning. What prompted you to go vegan and look into the lifestyle more?
Because I've always liked animals and I think it came naturally for me. So my own open-mindedness made me think of just one day I had the thought I'm actually eating an animal and I've always liked animals. So I was like, something has to be going on with how animals are produced, and it's like, how am I eating so much animals? There has to be something wrong with the way they're getting to my table. It was difficult because my mom kept buying it, and then at some point I just kept reminding myself what I was eating and the violence I was supporting, and I was like, one day I just kept continuing to eat less and try and eat less of animal products, and it just came naturally that I didn't care for it anymore after watching Earthlings one more time. So it's like the more and more you expose yourself to the violence that you're supporting, the easier it becomes when you look at it through the eyes of the victims to stop supporting animal cruelty. So
Definitely. I reckon it's so much easier when you're doing it for the victims, for the others in this situation. Because I've heard a lot of people say, oh, you should talk about the health aspect more. That's what draws people in. That's what they'd be interested in. And I just think, no, I think the most motivational, inspirational, and strongest pull to do better is the fact that there are victims involved and you're thinking about them. I found that the easiest. It helped me, it propelled me into, no, I can't keep doing this. This isn't about me.
yeah.
And that's, people get mixed up. They think it's about them. They think veganism is about the individual. It's like, no, it's about all these victims. Yeah, I watched so many documentaries and I still do because I want to be up to date and I want to be knowledgeable. Getting those documentaries to the greater public. But I'm hoping with Seaspiracy now, there'll be a bit of a shift. A bit of an awakening, one hopes. But it's incredible how young you were when you started transitioning and waking up to the brainwashing that you had been subjected to since birth, pretty much. That's amazing. Congratulations, so young.
Yeah, I guess it all has something to do with how we were brought up and, the stuff we were exposed around, because when I was little, my mom would always take me to the park and things like that. And I would just ask people all the time, can I pet your dog? Can I pet your dog? And then, I just always liked animals. They've always been so nice and sweet, and they're just perfect to me. So it's that's really what started it. And all throughout my childhood, I would go to the library, read books on animals, things like that. I was basically obsessed with them and their nature. So again, it just came naturally, and it all comes down to how we were brought up. Someone who's probably brought up with parents who kill animals on the regular, they're obviously gonna grow up doing that exact same thing. But if you grow up around animals and you see how nice they are and how sweet they are, then you're not gonna want to harm them in return. So yeah, I think that just comes down to how we were brought up. And even some people, they think about it and become vegan even before me, even before 12 years old.
Wow. So people?
Yeah.
That's amazing. My dad, who's a boomer, to go vegan. So I was pretty proud of that. I feel like that's the other end of the spectrum.
Yeah, that's super cool. Neither of my parents have done it yet.
Do you feel like they're a bit open to it? Are they slowly sort of becoming more aware?
It's hard to describe. It's just, they don't care. I wouldn't say they don't care about the animals, but
the ignorance is bliss, and it's very hard to confront the truth. It's very scary, and people fear that it's going to be a painful experience to confront the truth. So I think they just continue in that ignorance is bliss sort of mantra about it.
Yeah, they also like think it's gonna take a lot from them, but in reality, it's not. They think it's like some huge change that takes this sort of dedication or some huge, lifestyle change.
Sacrifice. Yeah. Like,
You're still eating the same things. It's just without the cruelty. It's just not a body part, but it's a replication of it without the suffering. Because the only reason we have animal products that taste the way they do and look the way they do is because we're seasoning them with plant-based spices. All spices come from plants, so it's like we're not missing out on anything except the suffering. So that's just the issue. People think they're gonna have to make some huge change, and then they don't even bother with it. They have other things going on with their lives, but
I think they're going to sacrifice something huge. And that was my fear, I think, looking back as well, was I thought it's going to be so hard. Like, you build it up so much in your head that it's going to be this arduous, treacherous journey to become vegan. And then you do it and you're like, oh, that was remarkably simple, easy, and not taxing at all.
Exactly. But for me, it was just hard because I was surrounded by animal products, and like my mom just kept bringing it in. But even with that, even under hard circumstances when no one else was vegan, it was only me, I still made the unselfish choice to just give it up, because the more and more you watch that violence, it's like if you're a sane person, you're not going to continue to support it. As long as you keep seeing that footage and seeing the truth, you're not going to be able to support it if you know the kind of person you are and what your values are. There's no way you can call yourself an animal lover and watch Earthlings like 5, 6 times over and then still keep eating animal products.
The society's been brainwashed. We've all been brainwashed since we were little. We see it on advertisements, we see it in magazines, our parents bring it into the house, eating it with friends. So it becomes so normalized that you do sometimes probably need to watch these documentaries multiple times to undo all that damage that has been done to you over the years. We have been molded to see everything in a certain way. And yeah, we really need to ram this stuff home, whether it be by watching documentaries, reading articles, talking to people about it. But I mean, obviously it's doable, and from younger and younger ages too.
Yeah, for sure. There's plenty of people vegan since birth. They go vegan at an early age, things like that. So as far as the health side of it, as long as you're doing everything right, that's more of the how. But what's the most important thing to focus on is the why you should be vegan, and then you should figure out how later. Because once you look at it through the perspective of the victims, it's the easiest thing ever to go vegan. It's easy to be vegan, but it's hard to be an animal inside a factory farm.
A tight, confined cage where you cannot move, and you're living in your own excrements. It would just be, you would go insane. You would go into a state of mind that would just be, I think we can't even imagine the sort of state of mind these animals would be in. Yeah, like nature's cruel, but factory farms are crueler.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing about that is, with nature, it's not just constant death, because they don't come into they're not born and bred specifically to be killed by the trillions in nature. But as far as animal agriculture, we're killing way more animals than what would be killed by any other predators in nature. So it's weird how one species, the human species, is killing off so many animals, and far more than like the entire nature ecosystem combined. It's absolutely insane.
Oh, I know. It is. We are the leading cause of species extinction, or animal agriculture, and our entitlement to the planet and everything on it. It's crazy. I don't know if you've seen it, but last week I watched a mockumentary called Carnage. I watched it twice. It was so good. Have you heard of it or seen it?
I probably heard of it, but not that I really remember. But now that you've said it, I'll definitely check it out.
You would love it. I thought it was brilliant, and it's a totally different sort of take, because we're really used to watching documentaries that sort of have that more serious, very sort of serious take on what's going on, and it is a serious topic. But this mockumentary looked at veganism from more of a comical perspective, and so I found myself giggling throughout it. But I thought it was something that possibly the carnist masses might be able to cope with or watch and hopefully trick them into thinking a little bit. But I thought it was very clever and really well done. And so what it does is it's based in the future and looks back at the history of veganism. And they just can't believe that people used to eat animals. And they're talking to the youth of the future and they're saying, it's a baby, it's a lamb, like how could they? And it's funny in the mockumentary, but when you think about it, you think that this is a very real possibility. And I think it is definitely where we're heading, that future generations will look back at what is going on now to the animals and the mass scale at which we are torturing, abusing and killing them. And it will be unbelievable. They'll look back at us as barbaric.
I really hope that's the case. I really hope that's the case, but I personally can't make any predictions on how the future would react to it, honestly, because just looking at some of the things we've done to each other, to other humans in the past, and still, that discrimination is still going on. It's like, wow, we can't even treat each other right,
True, but I think
that
if you started from the bottom and you taught a little kid from a young age that a fish in the water or a chicken or a cow or any other animal is its equal and that it's not to be seen as inferior, I'm pretty sure we would live in a world that is far more closer to a utopia than we currently do, where humans will of course naturally treat each other with the same sort of respect. Because if you can teach a child treat an animal with respect, they're going to have no issue doing it with other humans.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually just wrote a script for a video I'm going to put out soon about that. Yeah, discrimination starts like at the smallest, and then it builds its way up. So if you have someone who crushes an ant and they say, well, that's just an ant, maybe the next day they'll slaughter a pig and they'll say, for their taste pleasure, and they say, well, it's just a pig. And most of society might be fine with that, but the next day they might take a step further and say, I'm going to call someone a racial slur because they're just a person of color.
It's no big deal sort of thing. That's how they see it.
Yeah, and I'm going to assault this person because of this nationality. Well, they're nothing to me, so why does it matter? But through the eyes of all of those victims, it's the biggest deal ever. And that's why we can't really put like this discrimination is worse than this discrimination. Through the eyes of the victims, all discrimination is equally wrong. So, if you're against one discrimination, you have to be against all discrimination. Otherwise, you're just part of the issue. Because as long as there's one form of discrimination, it's going to stay there and it's going to build itself up. So, I just want to hear more about your journey, which is what I was asking you before. And, what documentary really pushed it? Was it Cowspiracy or was it?
I reckon Cowspiracy. I remember watching it and being like, oh. And it also led me to start finding people on YouTube as well, different animal activists, because I jumped on YouTube after watching Cowspiracy. I think I was already I was already looking around YouTube, but it really pushed me further into the animal activism, vegan realm. And I discovered Freely the Banana Girl, Vegan Gains. And so I watched them a lot. And I also watched the sort of conversations they'd have with other people on YouTube, the debates they'd have, especially Vegan Gains. And so, yeah, Cowspiracy, activists online, and it also was just bubbling away for years. And I was thinking about it a lot. I was having debates in my own mind. And eventually my sister, actually, who was 19 at the time, went vegan first. So we were all pretty much vegetarian. And then Zoe went that extra step and went vegan, and then so did my parents, and then so did all of us, even though we're in another state in Australia. So it's sort of like this domino effect. I think we were all ready to make the move, and having that added support as well from the family really helped, because I said earlier, you think it's going to be such a big deal, like going vegan, and then you do it and you're like, oh, that wasn't that hard. But having that support from the family really helped. And this is another reason why I admire you so much, because you obviously had these critical thinking skills from such a young age. You were implementing them, and you managed to do this despite not having people around you following in that journey with you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, once again, if you're just looking at it through the perspective of the victims, it's the easiest thing you can ever do, right?
My grandma on my mum's side was a bit of an animal activist against fur. She was sort of lobbying against fur and doing protests. And I remember in her bedroom in Italy was this little framed picture of a baby fox, I think it was, and it had written on it, "Oh, does your mum have a new fur coat? Mine doesn't have hers anymore." And it was like just this little baby fox, and it just makes me tear up because that was definitely one of the moments for me too. Like, I'd always see that picture when I go and stay with her in Italy, and it really makes you think just the impact that humans are having, and the blatant abuse that's going on that everyone seems to accept. That's it. Everyone's accepting it, and it's like, why are you accepting this?
Yeah. So so your mom and your sister and your dad, they're all vegan, or is it
Yep.
like I don't know. I saw this video about your modeling career, and I wanted to know like how that went. Like you were like, you wanted to like, I think you said something like you were it was hard at first, and like no one really wanted to interact with you or give you any sponsors or anything. But like after 4 years, something really hit, and like you really blew up or something.
Yeah, so I decided that I wanted to be a model when I was 16 years old. I just had this epiphany, this moment, and I was like, yep, I really want to be a model. But it took me 4 years of like working. I was posting online, I was doing photo shoots, I was organizing stuff with other photographers and building up a bit of a brand. But it took me 4 years for someone to finally be like, so, here's some money to model finally.
Have you ever been like asked to model a certain thing and that thing is like made of some sort of animal skin and you have to refuse it or something like that?
Great question. That is such a good question. So I have never, I think if I'd ever been asked to do fur, I definitely would have said something over the years. But I never really, and I have to be honest here, like I never really thought about leather, feathers, or other items, silk that came from animals when I was modeling and when I wear things. Now, because I feel more secure, I think that I felt free to think about it more, and I was like, holy shit, like what am I doing? I need to refuse to wear certain things because this is not okay. Like I need to push out further with veganism. It's not just about changing what you eat. It really is about pushing the different industries and making change where possible on an individual level. But also I don't want to be promoting that stuff anymore. And so I said, tell clients I'm not going to wear leather, silk, and just listed out the whole lot. And so far so good. No one's put me in anything that's gone against that. Granted, it hasn't been that long.
Yeah, that's definitely awesome that you refuse to do that. And I think like because these types of animal products like fur, they're so popular in the fashion industry, and I think being like a top model really gives you that advantage to speak up for the animals and use your position to like refuse to wear certain things.
Because it is a responsibility. My job is a vain, sort of vacuous job overall, and it would be a crying shame and a crime to actually not utilize the platform I've got and the work I've got to do something about the fashion industry and try and make a change. And I'm going to be honest, I like the look of fur, I like the look of leather, but you don't need an animal to get that look. You can create incredible faux furs, you can create incredible leathers that both you can make look far nicer, because obviously it's going to be nicer, it's cruelty free. So there's no reason, and we've got all the technology, all the fabrics we need to make things that are as durable or more so than anything containing animal products. Actually, I heard something interesting. When people go and climb up Mount Everest, right, it's really fucking cold, they're not wearing furs, like animal furs, because I hear this argument of like, you need to wear animal fur to stay warm in Canada and this sort of shit. People that climb Mount Everest are not wearing animal fur to climb up the coldest fucking mountain in the world. No, they're wearing man-made fabrics, not from animals. So that just proves that it's just a load of bollocks that you need it to stay warm at all. We've got all the technology to make things without the use of animals.
Yeah, it's definitely not to stay warm. And I mean, I don't even really like the look of it, even if it's fake fur, because like when you're confronting fur wearers, it's like, oh wow, you actually ran into someone who's wearing faux fur. That would
Yeah.
suck, but because it promotes the idea that wearing fur is okay, I think. But I mean, if you display it online, like, you should wear fake fur, and I think that can be a good thing, especially for people who are like fur addicts. I guess that could be some people who are just addicted to the look. So that's a good alternative if you're not causing suffering. But, just the look and it kind of promotes it. I'm kind of on edge.
Totally hear you. And I think it is a really subjective sort of thing because I don't think there is a right and a wrong. I think that you've got good points, and I think that at the same time you're going to have people that, yeah, unfortunately they like the look of fur and leather and things like that. So if we can create ones that match it or are better, then it gives them no excuse to continue buying those products. Because at the moment, if let's say you didn't make things that emulated fur or leather, people will have this big excuse, well, I can't get anything like it. But when you bring in those alternatives and they're readily available, they've got no excuse left. At that point, they seem like a psychopath, really. It's like, why are you buying a mink coat where so many animals died when you can buy this gorgeous one that's cruelty-free sort of thing? And it's the same with, I guess, meat products as well. Like, unfortunately, people like the taste of meat. And if we can create things that have that same taste, then once again, it gives them no excuse.
Yeah. I'd say more they like the texture of meat, but
yeah.
All the flavor is coming from the plant. It's all about the seasoning that you're putting on the meat. And the same texture you can create with plants. So it's totally 100% you can replicate it. So yeah, no need to even eat it. And again, these flavors aren't even coming from the meat. It's what so many people don't realize is that all spices come from plants. Like, I've seen you a lot on social media lately. Like, I'll just hop into a comment, I'll see you supporting other activists, which is great because it's great to see you out like supporting other activists and watching their videos, and just the support is good overall when it comes to any vegan supporting another vegan. So I see a lot of that from you. And what really like motivated you to start getting active and using your platform to speak up for the animals?
Because I think for so many years I took my social media very personally. It was this part of me. It was this important thing I had to protect. And then I got to this point where I was like, my social media is bullshit. Like, what is the point of even doing it? Like, there's nothing. End of the day, I'm putting my image out there. And if I'm going to do it just for the sake of getting likes and getting famous for myself, it's like, what a shitty thing to do. Like, not fulfilling either. It's not fulfilling. Humans do naturally want to be good people. And so I'm thinking, I need to make the most of this. Like, fuck what people think. I don't care what animal abusers think. They're fucked anyway. So I'm just going to put it out there. And I guess I also accepted the fact that I'm going to have backlash. And I was like, I don't care. Come at me. I don't care.
I fell into the trap a long time ago, but luckily I broke free, like way faster than other people do. Like, usually people suffer from it at a certain age and they never break free from it. But yeah, luckily I've always been open-minded. I'm like, and like because you saw my other page, I did all the bodybuilding and things like that. It's like, I'm passionate about it and, looking good and things like that, but that's not what really lies like within me. What I could be known for is promoting animal rights. And I think we can get caught up in like wanting not to mess up our feeds and the way it looks, and just keep it about us as far as social media. But we can use our platforms, and I see these platforms as tools, and we should definitely use them to speak up against things instead of just being narcissists and only talking about ourselves all the time. Because so many people are doing that, and the most famous people are doing that. It's like we have to normalize using our platforms as tools to speak up against discrimination.
Yeah, exactly. You're 100% right. And I think that the fact you're doing bodybuilding, like, I think that even me putting myself out there in a narcissistic manner, it's like, it could be used as a positive thing. It's like, okay, well, it's a tool that allows me to reach a bunch of people, and then suddenly I get to talk to them about veganism, or I get to drop the fact that there's this new documentary that's come out. And then the same for you. I think it's incredible that you're doing this bodybuilding stuff. You look amazing. You're obviously building muscle. It's an inspirational thing. And so by putting that out, it can be used as a powerful tool to draw people in, to show them, to break those stereotypes.
Yeah. Like the breaking the stereotypes is like a side thing of activism for me. The main thing is just speaking up for the animals directly. Stereotypes can get thrown at like everywhere, and it's great to just have that debunked like right away. It's like, okay, I can look this good being vegan, and what's your point? What are you talking about? So anyone who opposes that, that argument's like already out of the window. So I try and keep it like when it comes to debating anything, I try and keep it 100% about ethics. One of my recent debates I had with the hunter, and he was like trying to talk about, or I just call him a serial killer, but since people are familiar with the term hunter, then we'll just call him that. But I debated him about ethics, and eventually won, and he just went off the stream. And he later tried to challenge me again, but saying that I couldn't talk about ethics at all. And I think we know why he didn't want to talk about ethics. We should be as ethical as possible, even if, let's say, you lived in a place where you had to harm other people, where you'd still have, like, would it not be the most reasonable thing possible to try not to harm people? Because there's people in situations in which they have to harm others, steal from others in order to live in a decent manner, but you wouldn't say that's justified. So why would we not keep that same reasoning for eating animals? We should try and be as ethical as possible always, even if it might be hard. So yeah, that's my viewpoint on that.
I had a friend of mine come who's not vegan, unfortunately. He came over to my house with his partner, and they started asking me questions and, what about hunting? What about this? But hunting was a big one. It's like they're keeping ecosystems controlled and making sure that the population numbers are stable and it's ethical and all this sort of stuff. And I'm just listening to it like, and then he says, oh, and also cows die instantly, the animals die instantly. And then before they left, they were having conversation about eating bacon the next morning. I was like, I don't know you.
It's completely false. Like if you wanted to try and justify killing animals for the ecosystem, you would have to justify killing
humans. We're the ones that need to go for the ecosystem to do better.
Like one human uses up the resources of like 100,000 or more animals in the wild. Removing one human from the planet would save so much resources. And if you're gonna try and say that you're hunting to save resources, you're hunting animals who are not even using up much resources, but you haven't killed yourself yet or another person. That's not the reason for it ever. It's just an excuse that the serial killers use. So.
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, what kind of argument is that? That's negligible what harm that deer is doing compared to the harm that a human does.
Yeah, and that's exactly why I don't even bother trying to go into that with them. I just argue ethics. Like I already know as far as them talking about the ecosystem, it's full of crap. It's like, okay, how can you justify this when humans are using up so much more resources? You would have to justify doing it to humans as well. So yeah, that's why I just keep it about ethics.
What would you say to people that go, well, the thing is they've got no natural predators left, so humans have to keep the numbers in check?
Well, I mean, humans have no natural predators, and we're the most harmful thing to the planet. So it's like, would you use that same reasoning to justify killing humans? And that's why I just don't even keep it about the ecosystem, because it all comes back to like, if you're worried about this issue, why aren't you killing humans?
Yeah,
we're causing more harm to the ecosystem, the environment, to the planet than any other species, all other species combined. So. Yeah, just keep it about ethics. Don't even go into all that ecosystem type stuff. It's all cool.
It's all sort of these side arguments they manage to draw you into to distract you from the fact that they're murdering.
So do you see yourself doing like any in-person outreach, like in the future, like activism outreach or protests, getting involved with groups?
Yeah, I really want to. I have, Tash Peterson, Vegan Booty?
Yes.
So she is going to be coming to stay with me. This is the plan, as long as everything goes to plan, in June, July for like 2-3 weeks. And I plan on hopefully going out and doing in-person activism with her.
Wow, that's actually really cool.
I'm really excited, but I'm also nervous, but I think I can do it because I asked her, I said, how do you do it? How do you have the strength to go into public surrounded by these people that are brainwashed and don't want to hear this message, and how do you manage to scream that out? But she said to me that she used to be very shy and that she is the last sort of person that would have the ability to go and do that. And she goes, it just came to me naturally one day, sort of thing. It just happened naturally, gradually, and next minute she's going and doing disruptive, nonviolent activism often.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was like, I could do it too, possibly. And so I really want to. So that's the plan.
Yeah, it does take a lot of like braveness to scream out like that and use
Oh,
your voice
yeah.
in that moment. But I like her like a lot, the way she speaks out and uses her platform to speak out for the animals. She's a great activist, but I don't think that's the most effective form because thinking about it, like myself as a child, like if I saw someone screaming out loud in, McDonald's, I really wouldn't know what they were talking about.
So I think that sort of activism, it has its place, just like any sort of activism. So her going out and doing that and being filmed at McDonald's. The other thing is it ends up on YouTube and circulates around social media. So she's not just doing it for those people in McDonald's at the time. She's also thinking about social media and how it might circulate or get talked about on there. And so then this video ends up circulating, and one of the #1 comments under the Dominion documentary on YouTube is, "I came here from vegan booty," sort of thing, from that crazy girl screaming at McDonald's. Is like that's like the top comment.
Throughout the first 10 minutes of Dominion, I think you could see baby pigs getting their teeth ripped out of their mouths, getting their heads slammed on the ground, and yeah, if that doesn't click something in your head that you need to stop supporting animal agriculture, then I don't know, you're insane.
I like what Yaquin Phoenix does. He's an actor, but at the same time, he utilizes that as a platform for veganism. And so I still want to be a model. I love modeling. I love being in front of the camera. I love wearing exciting stuff. But at the same time, I've got to figure out how those can work in unison and complement each other. Veg Steps, thank you so much for coming on my channel. I really enjoyed today's conversation. It was an absolute pleasure to have you here. And I look forward to hopefully interviewing you again very soon for your channel as well. So stay tuned for that, everyone.